Welcome back. Is Google caught in a Gemini blunder? The company getting called out after acknowledging its big AI reveal video was staged, showing a pre-produced rendition of the technology. The company defending its actions, saying it was intended to be an illustrative depiction. Steve Kovach is here with more. We're also joined by big technology founder Alex Kantrowitz and the Verge's Nilay Patel. Really glad to have you guys all here to kind of hash this out. Steve, let's start with what do we know? As you reported yesterday, Google was forthcoming about the fact that this wasn't necessarily a live video, right? It's just that it took people a while to internalize that.
I mean, I guess they're honest about it in the sense that they had it in some blog posts and some notes on the YouTube video itself. But if you were looking at CEO Sundar Pichai's X account, for example, in the video that he shared, or just the virality of this video that everyone is getting so giddy over a couple days ago, you would have known that, and you would have thought this was working in real time the way that Google pitched it as working. But what actually happened was, and Google has said they've done this, is they edited it down, so they made it shorter, so there's less latency between the query and the response. Okay. And beyond that, it instead of actually having the model like look at the image or listen to the voice, they fed it text prompts first and then kind of voiced over that. So Google now kind of having to walk it back and say, oh, this is what it could be like. This is what, when we launch this thing, this is what it might be able to do. But right now, it doesn't seem capable. And this is really important because right now, Google wants to sell this model, part of its cloud business. They want startups using it, who are AI startups that need to tap into large language models, maybe looking for something beyond OpenAI or Anthropic to use. They might want to tap into this. Google wants to implement this in its search product, which it's promised will drive more sales and revenue. They want to start selling it through workspaces and Google Docs. But right now, it just doesn't seem like it's ready for prime time.
Alex, was the risk worth it? Because the video was so compelling, and now even the sort of debate about it becomes another round of media. It's very Elon Musk-ish, if I may say.
Yeah, I think it absolutely was not worth it. I mean, if you're at Google, how can you release this and think people aren't going to catch on the next day? And the broader point here is that it shows how Google thinks about itself internally. It's seeing all these companies, Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, go to town on the transformer model, technology that it developed, and it's behind. And so now it's doing this video that shows that it's done this revolutionary upgrade, where really what it's done is evolutionary. It just shows the mindset within Google. We're behind. We need to show the public something amazing. And it just went way beyond where it should have. And now it looks even worse than it did in the beginning.
Nilay, what do you think? Was the risk worth taking because they got so much more extra buzz out of it?
No, I think Google was in a position where it felt like it needed to catch up to OpenAI. But I will just remind everyone, OpenAI was doing a pretty good job of making itself pretty messy. Like, you didn't need to shoot yourself in the foot this way. On top of that, Google's pitch here is that Gemini is natively multimodal. That's what this video is trying to show you. You can communicate with this model in both video, in audio, in text, and it will generate all this stuff back at you on all these forms as well. Demis Hassabis, who runs Google DeepMind, said to The Verge and to other outlets, you can see how you could get to robotics with this thing, where it's looking at a picture and a robot arm is doing stuff. The reality, though, is that the version of Gemini you can use today in Google Bard is just a chatbot, and it does not appear to be a very good chatbot. It hallucinates more than ChatGPT hallucinates. It answers problems in a less good way than ChatGPT does today. So even from have we caught up to GPT-4 in chatbot form, it's not there. And then we're lying about whether or not it's multimodal, or shading the truth about whether or not it's multimodal. This does seem like a pretty big cell phone.
What about the share price reaction, Alex, which is to say it was up more than 6% yesterday. It's down a percent or two today, but it's nothing like the disaster and the debacle we've seen in past kind of awkward launches or when investors were concerned. So maybe they still feel like, hey, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, if investors were buying off of that video, they've made a real big mistake. If investors are buying because they now see that Google has a product in market that can compete with GPT-4 and potentially cater to Google Cloud Platform customers who already have their data and can bring that in and start to use these products, that's a much more reasonable approach. But I honestly think that the marketing did play a role in here, and there's probably people buying where they shouldn't be.
Nilay, what would you add, especially for the investing public?
Google has a big business model problem to solve. All of its money comes from search, and these models are going to undo that business model over time. The idea that you're going to insert advertising into a list of links in some way, right? It's just going to crash directly into the AI is going to tell you the answer. And I think Google has to get these models out in front of the public, understand how people are going to use them, understand where the commercial opportunities are beyond that Google Cloud Enterprise stuff that Alex is talking about. The consumer business they have to develop. So that there's a huge push at Google to make sure they do it first before OpenAI does it, before Amazon does it, before Microsoft does it with Bing, if you believe that that is a real possibility.
Yeah.
That said, they don't have to get this far out over their skis because of perceived pressure. That search business is fine right now.